Okay, welcome everybody. Thanks everyone for joining. I hope everyone is healthy and doing the best they can to stay active in these tough times. Before we get started, I'm going to go over some housekeeping procedures for the webinar today. First, if anyone has any technical issues, please use the chat feature, and I will do my best to walk you through it and see if we can get that solved. Please be aware that most of the issues that have come up in our past webinars have been due to Wi-Fi connection. So there might only be so much I can do, but I will certainly do my best to help you through it. If everyone can remain muted during the webinar, that would be wonderful, so we don't have any background noise. There is at the bottom of your screen the toggle to turn your microphone on or off. It's a little round icon that looks like a mic. You can click that, it will turn red. That means you are muted. If you have any questions for Marty throughout the webinar, please put those into the chat function, and we will prompt Marty towards the end of the presentation as needed. There is one button I'd like you all to avoid hitting on this platform. It says present now. Please do not click that, as that will interrupt the presentation on the screen. And finally, if you are called in from your phone to the webinar, please send me an email at mfrey@pgahq.com. That way we can make sure you get your MSR credit for today. So I'll go ahead and introduce Marty. Jeff is going to be a few minutes late. He's on an important call right now. So Marty was kind enough to help us out today. He is the co-founder and CEO of Bad Rhino, which is an award-winning full-service social media marketing agency based in Westchester, Pennsylvania. They have clients locally, nationally, and globally, including work with the Philadelphia PJ section and PJ Reach Philadelphia. Marty has used his social media strategies to actively recruit and build online marketing business for over 17 years. And since 2002, he has consulted with small businesses and startups to help them succeed online. Marty is also the author of Great Beer is Not Enough and the host of the Taps and Teas podcast. So check those out. Marty and his team at Bad Rhino have worked with our section, as I previously mentioned, on education and social media, as well as our 501c3 foundation, PJ Reach Philadelphia, on its social media, helping it broaden the reach, our message, and build our brand. Additionally, they have consulted with many of our section members and their golf facilities around the section. So with that, I will turn it over to Marty to give his presentation. Thanks for joining.
Thanks, Matt, for the intro. And can you still hear me? You're all good?
Yes, sir.
All right, cool. I'm going to turn my video off to save some bandwidth and flip over everything here to present. But I appreciate it. I hope everyone on the call and on this webinar is doing well in this crazy, wacky time. And, you know, the one thing I do miss is going out to play some golf. But purpose of today, as I switch into presentation mode, will be, you know, to chat about a few things that you can be doing. And the challenge is like, what can you be doing? You know, and people are a little confused. People are a little scared. People are, you know, just kind of shuffling through everything. And I think the purpose of today is just to talk about a few things. I want to show you some examples that you can do and that I see. And there's no right or wrong answer. It's a weird time. And when your place of business is shut down, you have a challenge, right? So what can you do? So just make sure I got the right thing. All right. So if you hate taking notes, Matt's going to send this out. But if you have any questions, I'm going to send out a handout. I'll send it out over to the section as well. But if you have any questions that you think of down the road, just hit us up at golf@badrhinoinc.com. We'll get you the information that you need. We're here to help. I've had a lot of my golf friends, golf clients, former clients, past clients reach out, and it's been a deluge of just helping people out. And that's what we're here for. I'm not selling anything. I'm not doing anything, just trying to push everything out there to help you the best I can. Who is Bad Rhino? Matt just gave us that information. That's just me and my business partner. I have a lot less hair now. We can't cover all this in 35, 45 minutes. The one thing I've been doing is just, with everybody, is try and just manage, because everybody wants like 10 minutes or 5 minutes. When you get this presentation, this link will be in there. I just set up a 15-minute call on my schedule for anybody around golf, and that's the link, just so that we can help you out, because it's going to be weird when we get back to quote unquote normal, whatever that might be. So if you have any questions or you're confused on anything, we'll have some Q&A at the end of this, but at the same time, you'll be able to contact us, and we're more than willing to help. Podcast, as Matt mentioned, I did 60 interviews over the past 3 weeks. I've been interviewing two of our main pieces in our business for Bad Rhino are craft beer and golf, and obviously both have been impacted. And I've been doing 20-minute, 30-minute interviews with PGA professionals, teaching pros, people that own golf products, work at golf courses, marketers, as well as people in the craft beer, and just getting these out. And they start to push out next week. So if you want to get on it, just let me know, golf@badrhinoinc.com. All right, so that's all the publicity that we're doing. Let's talk about these things. So in this global pandemic and what's going on, these are the main points I want to cover. We're going to go through these. We're actually going to start off with what, as a marketing agency, we're seeing in many industries right now. But I want to show you some golf courses doing their part, how to brand your facility and what people are doing. More importantly, set the tone for future sales. And the biggest thing I want to just push out here today is be sensitive to public sentiment right now. We live, obviously in the Philadelphia area. If you go right up the road to New York, I have had 3 phone calls just today with people that lost relatives up in New York and New Jersey area. You have to be sensitive to this, because you don't know where it's going to go. And I've seen some things that I'm going to cover today. That's first and foremost on here is I've seen so many missteps over the past 3-4 weeks where people are labeling certain things or talking about certain things when you're not really taking in the fact of what's actually going on. We'll wrap up with like 5 things you can do right away. I have a PDF that I'll send out via Matt. You'll get it before the end of this week. And I have 30 marketing ideas you can do right away. Some of them cost tiny bits of money you can do on your own, but they're things that you should be thinking of. So as you come out of this, whether you're at a private club, a public course, or you're just teaching, that you can hit the ground running to not only recoup anything that's going on, but also people are going to want to play golf, and people are going to want to engage in all that. So as a marketing agency, what we've seen as phase 1 was like sheer panic. Like our clients were calling us like, let's pause this, let's stop this. We have to figure out stuff. We're actually closed, like all sorts of stuff that I've never really anticipated with something like this. I mean, I've been in business for a long time and worked through 9/11 and the crash of the markets in 2008, 2009. This was a little weird because it came all of a sudden. It was like, oh, business as usual, but there might be some restrictions to the state shut down. Certain businesses are shut down. So that created a little bit of panic. Phase 2, what we saw was shortly thereafter was an adjusted plan for our clients that were still able to operate. We have everything from the restaurant up the street to large companies, large pharmaceutical companies, companies you would know in the Fortune 500, and they were just adjusting their plan. Phase 3 of this, what we saw was an increase in ad spend across the board. That shocked me at first. But then I also realized, based on the data that we were seeing, that cost per click were cheap and advertising was cheap at the moment. And they capitalized on that. We have some e-commerce products that were flying off the shelves that aren't masks, that aren't related to anything that you would think of that would be fun in a quote unquote pandemic environment. But we saw a massive increase where people are getting a great ROI. They were building email lists. They were building text messaging lists. They were doing all sorts of things to start to capture some information because people were sitting at home on their phones, or they're scrolling through Facebook, or they're going through all sorts of stuff, and people were buying. but people were also looking for information on their favorite brewery, their favorite course, their favorite whatever it might be. And they were just engaging with that brand because they had nothing else to do. So right now, where I see everything with our clients is, somewhere between the 3 and 4 range. So phase 3 and 4. With most of our clients, like I said, some shut down all marketing because it just wasn't the case, where they did not know what was going on. Surprisingly, 80% increased their marketing and reallocated their event dollars and other dollars into digital, which was very interesting. And we're still processing a lot of that. It's been a wild ride over the past 6 weeks. Live events, restaurants, breweries all went through massive change in a whole host of other industries. The ones that were cash poor put marketing on hold. The other ones that had a reserve have been, kind of cranking it out to get ahead of this. So what's that all look like? Going through and seeing what people are doing. This is what I talk about, is recognizing that public statement or sentiment. Don't name your special, your discount, your new membership that's going to come out, and your email subject line any of the following: the social distant membership, the COVID-19 special rates, coronavirus. I saw this one, I almost fell out of my chair. A beer special and a 6-pack of Corona after a round. I shit you not. And I'm all for in-your-face marketing. I own an agency called Rhino. We always take into account, what our brands that we represent, that they want to be represented. But we're all about like pulling those things out. It's what makes good marketing, is you catch people's attention. But if I want to emphasize one thing today, and I've seen it, and some of it locally, don't do this. It's not time to be tongue in cheek about it. It's time to just let them know what you're doing, and you're putting things out there that are smart, right? But the email subject line, I don't know about you, but I was inundated with, oh, this is what we're doing during the COVID-19. A lot of those went into spam, whether you know it or not, because the way spam filters work is if you get emails all at once that have just one word in it or multiple words, they think you're getting spammed. So don't put that into a subject line. Just call it, hey, just want to give you an update of what's going on, reopening here, or this is our plan. You want to be cautious with that, but don't name any of your things that you're coming back when you reopen, anything like this. Think it through a little bit, because it comes off tacky and it just reinforces that person to think, well, maybe I shouldn't go there, or maybe I shouldn't do this because I don't want to get sick. And that's where people's heads are. So you have to be cautious of that. Now I can get off the soapbox and get into some real stuff here. So what works? Be real. If you've ever seen any presentation that I've ever done on social media or marketing in general, this is really, the best way to do it. Is just be real about the situation. I'll have different examples. Some are local, some are national, but posts like this of just letting people know, like, hey, this is what we know this week. This is what we know today. We've been monitoring the situation. We're going to put things all in place that make sure they have the safety of our guests or people coming to, enjoy whatever we have going on. But if you're playing, we're going to make sure the carts are clean after every round. You might be in one cart if it's a ride only. We're going to actually really start to think about really making sure we have good walking rates, things like that. Like, that's what people want to know, at least on a face right now. Like, oh, well, hopefully I get to play golf in May and June, or hopefully I'll get to do this. But just be real about the situation. You don't have to come over the top. You don't have to try and be too salesy, because people are consuming this information all the time. Because if they're working from home, we've seen a huge increase in desktop traffic, which means people are online looking at things on their laptop or desktop, not so much on their phone as at current time, which is the first time that shifted in about 6 years. So people are consuming this. Like, organic reach is really good. So you don't have to spend a ton of money to reach your audience, but just be real about it. Like, let them know what's going on and what you have planned. No need to get salesy about it. No need to get sensational about it. Be kind. People are missing hanging out with their friends, hanging out with strangers, whether that's at a golf course, at a restaurant, a bar, wherever they used to go. And right now they're just looking for a little bit of a hug. So, I mean, if you say, Happy Easter, we miss you on a Friday, simple things like that is just communicating to the audience, whether you have a big audience or a small audience, whether you're doing it on social or via email or text messages. Doesn't matter. It's just get out there and talk to people that you can via digital. And being kind is something that people are really, really, really embracing right now. And it sounds silly, everyone should be kind, right? But right now, people are a little scared. They're a little on edge. Maybe they lost their job. Maybe they're just furloughed. Maybe they're worried about their business, or they're, an elderly parent or something like that. And they're really just looking to be, having that little virtual hug. I know for me, reaching out to a lot of my clients via the phone and doing, FaceTime type calls, just went a long way. I'm not talking about business, just talking about life, and translate that into your marketing, your facility, or whatever you're doing, and making sure that you just have that message that, hey, we care here. We understand everybody's a little on edge right now, and they're looking for a little comfort. This is what I took from Pinehurst. And obviously Pinehurst is going to be different than the majority of, people, what you have in terms of resources, etc. But what I really liked was, they jumped in and they started to give back to their employees, and they hosted an auction. And really, I think that's a unique thing that I see restaurants doing, craft breweries doing, companies that have been shut down. They're tying things into what they could give back. Let me give you a couple examples in the restaurant world that I've seen in breweries. Buy a 6-pack. We also are making hand sanitizer, and they're giving away, a free thing of hand sanitizer. They're also, for every 6-pack you buy, or for every takeout order you get, we're donating $5 here. We're also making sure that every time you buy a 6-pack from a brewery or takeout food, we're giving that a portion of that to our servers. We're putting that into a fund so that they can still get tips off of that. We're doing donations for, all the medical staff out there, nurses, doctors, firemen, police officers, people that still have to work and serve the public. So you can tie so many things in there very simply. One concept that I saw, another course, they're actually in North Carolina, and they called last week, and we were just kicking around ideas. And what they were doing is, if you booked a foursome, they were donating $5 or $10 or something to their local police force. And they were doing that, and they're going to launch that. Some of them are closed, some of them are open. It's a weird environment down in North Carolina right now. But what they're looking for is just to build future and get things booked in July, in later June, and things like that, even into the fall. They're extending like when you could book times just to get the revenue in, but then also give back. And I thought it was an interesting concept, and not everybody's set up to do that, but just think about ways you can give back and then advertise that a little bit. Some people get a little weird when you're like, oh, well, I'm advertising, our philanthropic, endeavors. It's just letting people know that you're involved. You have people on staff. You're trying to make things better in the world. And it's a huge thing. Include that community. This is just a different example, of an interesting part. And again, it's Pinehurst, but it was an easy example to show. There's little ways you can do this, and I'll get to those in a few minutes. But include that community, get them to engage a little bit. Right here is a perfect little combination of the couple of things I've just been talking about. Hey, we know it's an anxious time of uncertainty. We hope everyone is healthy. So that's that be kind and actually recognizing the public sentiment. For the next few days, what we're going to do is we're going to share some of our favorite video clips and documentaries about Pinehurst, right? Now, not everybody's got, great documentaries and pictures, but I'm going to show you a few examples here in a second. But think about, in general, what all the big media companies are doing right now. ESPN is running old stuff, as well as, pushing forward like bigger documentaries like the Michael Jordan one. Golf Channel, last night I watched the 99 Ryder Cup. I very rarely do that, if ever, in normal times, but I wanted something to watch, and here I am watching, something 21 years ago. I was surprised how much I remembered it, but at the same time, it was just like a feeling of comfort. You can do that on a smaller scale. When you include that community. And what's working right now is like a live look-in. I've seen this from quite a few. I just snagged this one from Turtle Creek just because I happen to be on that page. Timeout showing the superintendent making, different updates. And I've seen a couple courses do this, and it just shows like, oh man, all right, they finally fixed the bunker on hole 7 or whatever it is. And it jogs your memory. and that's what you want to do, is you want to be first and foremost in that community. So when everything opens up, you're the first one they think of, like, I'm definitely going there. And then if you combine that, excuse me, with some sort of offer when things come up, you're top of mind. And these are all small things that anybody can do. They don't cost money. And as long as you have a Facebook page, Instagram page, an email account, you can go out, have somebody take these pictures and start firing it out with a little bit of copy. So these are just general ideas. Same thing. Here's one from Downingtown Country Club. 18, looking fresh. Can't wait to have you all back soon, from last week or 2 weeks ago. Same thing. I mean, you're just thinking about that and knowing that place. I've played there many times. Is coming up 18th. Remember, you got to walk up that hill to get to that green. Hopefully you're on the green. But you also know that you're going to go over to the tavern and possibly have a few beers. That is just a memory thing, and it's just a beautiful picture. Shot it, posted it, done. And it's a live look into where people want to be. And that's the advantageous thing that golfers or golf courses and facilities have right now. This is a place of longing where people want to be. Remember when I first heard about the shutdown, I was like, well, they can't shut down the outside. I'm definitely, driving range, golf course. I'm like thinking about all these things if I have some time, just from a selfish point of view, to pass time. But golf is one thing that calms me down. I like to go out and play and be out in nature. People are missing that. So if you remind them of it, sometimes it sounds counterintuitive, but they're longing for this. And now hopefully we're getting closer to being open. A live look into what's going on is a tremendous way to do marketing without feeling like it's marketing. Build a little bit of anticipation. Same type of concept, the live look in builds that anticipation. So again, putting your facility first and foremost into the minds of the people that follow you, going, okay, I can't wait to get back there, so that when things are running there, I'm going to go here first. And then when things are starting to open up, it's like I get there first, and I also know the rules. So when you start to combine these things, you take the public sentiment, hey, we're going to make sure everything is wiped down. The rules are, no touching of flags. We're not going to have rakes in the bunkers. You're not going to be able to hang out at the clubhouse for the time being. We're going to let you know when, but we're going to make sure that our bathrooms are clean. We're going to make sure that anything that somebody's going to come in contact with is clean. So you're educating them on what the new rules are going to be in the short term. Then you're giving them a live look in of all the things that you're doing. And then you start to build some anticipation. It's just all marketing in a different kind of time frame and a different time of concept to allay the fear that if they do show up at your club, there's going to be no rules, but we're going to make it a safe environment so that, no one's getting sick. And it sounds weird talking about it in the outdoors. And I think that's tough for somebody to wrap their mind around. But if you just go through and think of a round of golf of what you might touch or what you might not touch, and just go through there and just kind of make a checklist of, like, i.e. simple things, carts are clean, but anything else that you think of, start to put that out there and, like, this is what we're doing, but build the anticipation. Don't be afraid to start putting things out there like, hey, this is a good morning thing. It's a sunrise, it's kind of a new day type of feel. And that's why I liked about using that one for, like, build anticipation. What's working right now is video. And, I loved when I first started seeing videos come out from all PGA professionals and teaching pros and all sorts of stuff that was just flying out there, which was awesome. One second, I'm gonna make sure that's not me getting the echo. I thought it was great with the video. Somebody not on mute.
I just muted somebody. You're good.
Okay, thank you. But as far as, like, the videos, putting things out there to remind people to not only stay in golf shape, but then leveraging the person that's teaching at your facility to really push everything out there is really good because it connects. But you want to make sure of a couple things. You don't want to just throw a video out there for the sake of throwing a video out there. I think there's part of it that you can do fast, but make sure you have proper lighting. Make sure your camera angles are good. I just did a video the other day. If you follow me on LinkedIn or if you follow us on any social media, you'll see it. And I'm laughing because some of the videos I saw, it's like all of a sudden you get like this, it's like you get a giant crotch shot and it's like really awkward and this weird and people are setting it up. And it's the first time they're doing video. And if anybody on here has done, professional shoots or even really put together their own little video studio, you know how much it's going on that you have to do to get those perfect shots. But you don't have to be a professional, and people are liking this type of content. The one thing I will say is everybody's doing it right now. So you're up against a million other golf videos in addition to so many others pushing out promoted content and other stuff. So it is working, but you would make sure that you position it the right way and make it stand out. Like, there's simple things just on an iPhone. If you have, some of the simple apps that are on there, you can create just a little lower third that you can just put on all your videos. It doesn't have to be fancy. It doesn't have to be this most perfect graphic, but if you start to put those things in there, it'll help it stand out. So just spend a little bit of time in the thought process of what you're going to walk people through, and then just a tiny little bit of time, maybe learning a new app, or if you have somebody that does that really well, contact them and see if you can barter something and make that work. Video is working very well right now. Video rates are through the roof, more so than anything online. So anything you can do video-wise, I would highly, highly push that and make sure that you're thinking about that, because it is really going well. And whether it's on YouTube or Facebook or even Instagram, do it, because it is working and it's creating a lot more engagement, and people are watching the whole thing rather than the first 30 seconds. So anything you can do video wise is really working really well right now. The one thing I would be remiss if I did not talk about that I see many companies doing that are closed right now or in a tough situation, they're building their email list. And right now is just, you can put a simple offer out there like, hey, we're preparing everything. We're getting everything ready to go. If you want to be notified, get on our email list. The traffic is relatively cheaper for closed businesses right now. So if you're in the golf industry, you're in craft beer, you're in a restaurant, you can really eat up some advertising space that's unoccupied right now. A simple offer to whatever email opt-in program you have, MailChimp, etc., some sort of mini offer or publicity around what you're doing for charity or what you're doing to plan things in for reopening and kind of get those things in line. Email has been king and text messaging has been king and queen for a lot of our clients during this. They're seeing massive email open rates by communicating and telling people step by step what's going on, by communicating, hey, our club pro put a new video out there today. You might want to check it out. Sending text messages, and they're getting responses. They're checking in on people. Like I said, involve that community. But this is right now what I see so many people doing, and it's smart, because if you only have a small budget, you could get away with like $100 a month, $3 a day, and start to see some results and getting a handful of things. It's working very well. Same thing with text message opt-in. People are looking to get connected, like I said, and if they're going to connect with their favorite course or their favorite brand online, they're willing to do that. And you can start to build your email list so you can always contact those people that are actually interested. And it's a great way to build it. So I wanted to just drop that in there because we're seeing some incredible data over the past couple of weeks of companies that never did this before. And it's working out really well, just tying it into some sort of offer for when they reopen. So I want to be able to open up for questions and everything. And we're at 12:30. And like I said, it's a crazy weird time. There's no right or wrong answer, but we developed very early on we developed 30 marketing ideas for every industry that we service. And I will send this out over to Matt so everybody can, have it. But I want to go over 5 quick ones. Social media contests right now are crushing it. Everywhere we look, doesn't matter the industry. It's a simple way, you can do giveaways, hats, shirts, tea times, whatever, products. It's working really well. You can set them up simply, or you can use programs that are out there that are a little bit more complex, but they're actually relatively inexpensive. Just making sure you set them up correctly. We're seeing a lot of people develop their Instagram and Facebook profiles with a lot of other better looking posts and pictures. So they have the time, it's spring, things are blooming. You can walk around a course, you can have pictures taken, you can do it with an iPhone. I mean, if you have a photographer, that's even better, but you can still simply do it with an iPhone. Capture everything about your course and develop that library so you not only have it now, but you have it down the road. Like I said earlier, the videos are really working. So if you have a teaching pro on staff, leverage them on social right now, because people are dying to just pick up a tip or even just remember what it is to actually pick up a club and play or try and tweak their swing. I mean, it's springtime, the Masters should have happened. People get fired up. They're like already planning out their, golfing for the better part of the year and practice before the kids get out of school, and everything's upside down right now. And they're looking for a little piece of normalcy and doing all that. And if they're missing out on their golf habit, quote unquote, getting them connected in some way. And I see the people out there and they're pushing the videos and they are working. And that's probably like a number one thing. Reward your top spenders. If you have a good, customer, relationship management tool, and you know who your biggest spenders are, I'm going to tell you one big thing that I'm seeing is call them. And you'll be surprised. We did it with a restaurant. They had a beautiful CRM, and they actually had collected a ton of information, email and phone, and they sold about $5,000 in gift cards with discounted gift cards, but it was like $5,000 total in a night by just calling them and saying, we really appreciate all your business. We're making this offer just for some of our bigger spenders that come in here. You're our regulars. In our time of need, what we're doing is we're going to push this offer online. If you spend $1,000, you get 250 free, so to speak. So your gift card would be $1,250. And they did that, and they just pulled in $5,000 in one night, and it's all different denominations, just giving away 25% more. And it was a good thing because they can get some cash flow so that they could place an order to actually buy the food, that they could do takeout, and amongst a few other things. But those people were so appreciative of the phone call. Like, they were like, wow, actually a company that cared, because there's so many faceless things online, so many faceless things nowadays when it's cold digital marketing or other things, that it was like, wow, this is different. Like, they're actually calling me, thanking me for business, even though I can't come in there. And you take, your top, 5% of people that spend money that you have a relationship with, call them, shoot them an email, let them know that you're running a couple specials and you can't wait to see them come back. It was one of the craziest things I saw. Craft Brewery did it too. Same thing with gift cards. They gave away hats and shirts as well. And they were just, making sure that they knew that, hey, when we come out of this, we can't wait to see you again. Again, just not to reiterate, but email and text message marketing is kind of the same idea of just having a little bit of personal touch. It's kind of funny to talk about it because many people are like, oh, I'm just on an email list and this is what we're going to get. And we're not really, think it's impersonal. And it's funny how, like, just a slight shift in worldview, and people are opening these things again more so than they ever have. E-commerce, which is always good for email, but in other industries, we're seeing like a dramatic increase in email open rates, email responses, like sending out a simple message like, hey, if you're interested in hearing about, our new special that we're going to roll out when we open up, just respond back to this email. And getting like 30-40% of the people responding. And sometimes it takes a little bit to build up to that. Like, you have to send out one email. If you haven't been doing it very regularly, you send out one email, you send out a second email, and then the third email you send out to the people that open the first two. And you just say, hey, if you're interested, just respond here or click to call, or we'll send you a text message. And it's really working. People are looking for that connection because they miss it, because they're locked in their homes and they're not going to work, and they're just looking to get out in some way, shape, or form. And it's really amazing to see. And it's been a strategic thing that we have with all our clients to push out and collect email and data. But when times like this, when the marketplace is a little crowded with ads and organic content, it gets a little crazy. But email can be that personal form, which is crazy to say, but it's working like really well. So we'll make sure we get you all these 30 golf course ideas. And like I said during this whole presentation, these are just observations, strategically putting a plan together right now. We've been working with a few people just to kind of make sure that their heads are screwed on tight and making sure that they're not missing anything. Outside of that, it's like hard to actually put together a ton of plans, you know, and say, hey, what are we actually doing here? How can we do this? You know, there's a lot of uncertainty. And I hope at least a little bit of this today gives you a few ideas. It gives you a couple of things that you could work on, maybe just work on for when you reopen, or work on now to do some, you know, get ahead of the crowd type of marketing. There's a couple of additional slides back here, just some information. But like I said, if you have any questions, you can email them, and I will open it up now and go from there.
If anyone has any questions, feel free to unmute yourself and jump in. Marty, I was curious if any of your clients, golf or otherwise, have done any type of, you know, partnership with similar businesses. I've seen in the past few weeks, you know, breweries partnering with distilleries to do curbside pickups, which,
Yep.
you know, kind of gets two types of customers through the door. And I didn't know if you had any experience with that.
It's a great question. And it is something that we're seeing, especially with places that are quote unquote shut down, that really are trying to scramble with, all right, we got to try and feed ourselves, but also try and keep some sort of revenue in. I think the biggest thing that we see with that partnership is like really intriguing things locally. You know, a couple of our clients that are here in Westchester from a restaurant standpoint partnered with hospitals just to say, hey, we're making this food. We got to open up our kitchen. How can we help you? So that was one thing. In, you know, the brewery world, you know, just like your example, Matt, you know, you're seeing people come through and pairing it up with hand sanitizer and other things so that you can one-stop shop it. Then we're also seeing some of our farm-to-table restaurants that already had big orders in that they couldn't turn off right away. You know, they partnered up and they created like a grocery store. Like they said, here are the things that we're putting out there. You know, we don't want to throw away all our fruit, potatoes, everything that was showing up right in the middle of March and even at the beginning of April. And they created grocery stores. So instead of going out to, you know, Giant, et cetera, you know, they were able to partner up and hit their community with that message. And that worked out really well. The last one I'll share with you has been almost like a combination. So some of the things that pop up were like where you would have like a concert, right? And obviously they're not having concerts or shows or anything. So they were using their list, their email list, and they were doing a combination of a charitable endeavor. Then they would have a craft brewery tied in there and a restaurant. So you're starting to see people come together. Most of it's very tightly knit community based, which is cool to see. Everybody is kind of pitching in and helping each other. But yeah, there's a ton of ideas that you could do. I think in the golf world, you know, you can pair up a lot of different things, but also going to make sure like all the rules are set, you know, if you're just like a course when people are coming out there. So there's a lot of little things that are definitely remain to be seen, but that's a great question. And we are seeing that quite a bit across the board.
Thank you. George McNamara asked if you can speak a little bit about marketing budgets. You know, George, I'm not sure if you're more interested in how the marketing budgets have been affected with the pandemic or just in general.
So, and there's a couple of things on budget wise. So like I said, just at a high level, what we saw was immediate panic by a variety of people just watching dollars and cents and making sure that, you know, things are going the right way, which I can totally respect. So, you know, a lot of things that would pop up were just like taking like the basics, right? And saying, okay, let's take a pause. Let's look at things of where we need to spend money and where we're not spending money, right? Then the second phase of that was, all right, well, what can we do? So we'll take it from a business that was open, you know. So business that was open, I'll use two examples. One, we had a legal client, so it's a law firm. So what he needed to do was, one, he had to update his website so that he could set up everything that he was taking virtual appointments. So that was step one. Step two was where his practice is around employment law, and certain things around, like obviously with people having to lay off people and benefits issues and things like that, you need some legal counsel. So he set it up so right away, and then he increased his budget because he wanted to get out in front of everybody. So that was an interesting one. Our e-commerce clients have been going through the roof. We had a couple that are spending $100,000 a month with us that are now going upwards to, at least 50% higher to even twice that amount. But that's e-commerce. That's totally different, world. Where we're seeing is smaller companies that are shut down, what they're spending is wherever they can to just get promoted posts out there, some basics out there that put them to the top of the pile, so to speak. The biggest thing about digital marketing is no different than driving down a highway and you have billboards out there. There's only so many billboards. So the neat part about using digital rather than a billboard is I can only go on the highway of people that like golf, or on the highway of people that only want to buy my product. So strategically, smart money right now is spending a little bit because it's cheaper in certain businesses, craft breweries, restaurants. Like an example that I put in there is like, you could spend, now this, don't hold me to this because it's different in every single industry and different in every location. But if you had a small budget, $10 a day could get you pretty far right now in certain industries where it wouldn't even 2 months ago. And I'm not saying that's going to stay the same trend, but you have, let's just say things open up like May 15th going into June. You have almost 3-4 weeks where you can spend a little bit of money, and I'm talking small amounts, and get a better result than you ever have before. I will say that with this caveat, what we're seeing is the trend into digital is going to get way more expensive than it ever has been because events are canceled. Event marketing is basically dead. Face-to-face meetings and things like that are going to be much, much slower and much, much more sporadic. So the actual advertising dollars are going to get more, it's going to get more expensive. It's going to go up because everybody's going to be jumping on digital. That's about as basic as I can answer a general marketing budget question.
Okay. And then, I guess what kind of consideration should, a small business like a golf range or a locally owned golf facility, what consideration should they take into account for marketing budgets, not considering the pandemic, percentage for the entire budget, et cetera?
Yeah, I mean, percentage always changes. And it's funny in the golf world, it's dependent on what else you do. So whenever we sit down with any client, we look at, all right, so do you send out postcards? Do you do print? Do you do different events? Like, where are your dollars spent currently, right? And that's really like where the budget talk comes. Like, where do you get the most bang for your buck currently? Not talking about digital, not talking about anything. Like, what brings money in? And if you know that, then what you do is you take a portion of that or what you have left and you start to replicate that piece onto digital. So let's get an example. So let's say you run, your best thing is you get the most memberships or you get the most calls from an advertisement in Mainline Today, just using a local magazine here in the Philadelphia area. And that's where we get the most of our stuff. We spend a ton of money, and it's a quarterly publication, plus they put out email blasts and a handful of other things. But that's where our marketing has paid off for not only catering for our facility, but events for our facility, as well as golfers, as well as memberships. So you take it along that and say, okay, well, what about that ad is highly targeted? Well, we can replicate that highly targeted piece on digital, but let's make sure you have the other pieces. And this is where usually things start to, either take off or fall apart. You need a very good website. You need an email thing or an email client that can take the emails and the inquiries, and you need a way to track it. So when you look at what your budget is you don't want to throw away the baby with the bathwater, so to speak, and throw away, your Mainline Today advertisement, but you want to start to move that into a digital plan. And that can include, social media marketing. It can include Google AdWords. It can also include geofencing, which is huge, where you can target certain areas and show up on places. If I'm sitting in Malvern and I see I'm on Fox News or CNN or USA Today, and I can hit them square in the eyes with a local course or a local club in that area. So it's really just the strategy part. And what I would tell anybody that is going to jump into it and doing any digital marketing, the two big things I say outside of budget is, one, make sure you know what you're doing, right? Two, you actually have some sort of strategy, and the strategy can be super, super simple. It doesn't have to be complex. It doesn't have to include everything, but you want to make sure that if you're spending X, where it might come back. And it's not necessarily 100% in sales. It's website traffic. It's vanity things such as engagement on social media. It's phone calls, email opt-ins. There's a whole host of things that actually produce an ROI. And there's two types of ROI. Is it in your current community, i.e. people that have already been to your course or facility? Or two, is it going to the cold market? And those are going to have two subsets of an idea. So it's actually wrapping a strategy around it. And the last thing I'll say about that is, when you're trying to figure out what you're going to do budget-wise, you can always scale it. Our big thing is we don't waste money with Bad Rhino ads. What we do is we start to look at it, right? And it's scaling it up. So there's certain parts where you're like, wow, this is working like crazy today, and then it might go away tomorrow. But you don't want to spend the same $1,000 a day or $10 a day or whatever you're spending that you're not getting the right results. So you have to constantly monitor it. And that's where the challenge comes in for most business owners and marketing teams, because they don't have the time or the tools to do that. So just to back up and just summarize is make sure you know where you're spending your current marketing dollars. Make sure you know what's working for you currently. 3, if you're going to start to build a digital plan, make sure that you understand what channels are available to you, how you want to hit that market, whether it's warm or cold. And then, 6, where you're going to measure those results. Are you going to measure it with sales, which is ultimate, but a lot of things build up to those sales. And sometimes, digitally, you're not set up to capture that. So you just need to make sure you have a plan, and you don't want to spend money just for the sake of spending money because you think it might work.
That's great. I think, Courtney, did you have a question?
Yeah, I was just, hey, Marty, how are you?
Good. How are you doing, Courtney?
Good. I was wondering, so a lot of people are going live on social media. Was wondering if you've seen any best practices that people have been doing with going live and using that resource on social media outlets.
Sure. That's a good question too. So, one of our restaurant clients has events on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. They're big live event days. And what they did was, they're both musical acts, and they've been like there at the same time. And the key is you got to know where your audience is. And it's a little bit of testing. So if you go live on, say, Facebook, that might work best for your audience. Instagram might get more views, but you may be missing some of your audience. It's hard to just have a blanket answer, but the basics are, know where your audience is. If you have the capabilities, 2 phones or a laptop and a phone, go live in both places, right? I would also recommend YouTube Live as well. You're more apt to get like random people checking out a YouTube thing than you are Instagram and Facebook to a certain degree. It's just a bigger audience that YouTube plays with in general, but that's here or there. So once you decide which channel you're going to go on, or test a channel, or if you can and you have the capabilities, go on all the channels all at once, which is a fun time with multiple phones and your desktop lit up. So once you have that set up, 1, you want to make sure you test it a few times, make sure you have good sound, number 1. 2, make sure you have good lighting. Lighting is a challenge in and of itself. You're going to look a little bit different than you're going to be on Instagram because it's vertical. Going to look a little bit different on Facebook because of the way the camera feed goes, and a little bit different yet again on YouTube if you're doing all 3 all at once. So you need to understand how lighting works a little bit. So go in there and testing and have somebody watch it and say, hey, can you see me? Can you hear me? And even tell the audience, because you're going to go live while you do it. Hey, we're just testing some few things, hey, Jim, I see you joined, and, just have some interaction. And then once you get that set up and you feel comfortable with it, and mind you, not everybody is good on video, okay? Just because it's there and you're going to try it, make sure you have and you practice it. It's not my business partner's awesome, and I'm just going to throw him under the bus here. The guy can stand in front of 500 people or 1,000 people. He teaches classes at Cabrini and Villanova, live classes. He's awesome. Like, he speaks. You flip a camera on the guy, and he starts stumbling over his words. He starts overthinking things. And that's the other thing, is practice a few times, because it's not the same. Then somebody jumps in that you may not know or you may know and just makes fun of you. It goes, dude, your hair is a mess. And then you get off topic. So my advice is just have some well thought out things. Start small. So go on Instagram Live and tell everybody why you're on Instagram Live and, you know, what you're doing. So after you finish your test, start with an introduction type of Instagram Live or Facebook Live and say, this is what we're doing. You know, here I'm at the club. You know, we're looking around a few things, but I thought I would just do this message via Instagram Live and tell you, everybody, you know, we're really concerned about things that are going on in the environment. But what we've been doing since this whole thing started was, you know, we had some challenges. Obviously, we're not open, and you start to just build that story, but keep it simple. Keep it to like 2-3 minutes. Then write out a strategy of what you want to do. What I would do if I were somebody that was running a course or owned a course or a teaching pro is I wouldn't necessarily just jump out and give lessons all the time. You know, I would talk to them about your favorite event. You know, it's like, you can use like the PGA schedule before they revamped it, and you can talk about certain things or certain players, you know, on there and make a connection with the audience. That's just one idea. The second thing would be like changes you made in the facility over the winter, or things that you were going to roll out that you're still going to roll out once you're open. You can talk about changes in the golf world in general. You can talk about just everything that you think that people would want to hear. You'd be surprised that they actually want to hear. I did a craft beer conference call the other day, and I had this random question. I'm not going to tell you what the question was or what it was about, but we went off the beaten path, and I had like 5 emails after I was done, and they were like, man, you know, that was just great to actually have that conversation. And it was interesting because that's like a tap room type conversation. And we just started talking about it, and it would never have come up unless this whole thing was going on. And that's what your audience wants. So sketch it out before you start to do Facebook Live is what I'm saying. Come up with some variety of topics. Stay away from politics. Stay away from people dying or getting sick. But talk to them just about, you know, life in general to a degree. Like, you know, what we miss around here is, you know, somebody that would come in and they would always have cigar burning when they come off 18, then they would walk right in the clubhouse. And you remember, you know, and you just kind of like throw it out there and you watch engagement go through the roof. And I've seen some brands do this, and they're doing it by accident. And I'm not saying come off fake, but sketch out like, hey, we want to tell a story here. And if you have a good one, tell it. If you don't tell it. But, you know, leverage those communication channels, because Facebook loves video, Instagram loves video, and obviously YouTube does. And you can get bigger reach, especially when you have smaller marketing budget or no marketing budget right now. So if you're teaching a lesson via Facebook Live or Instagram Live, test it. You don't want your head cut off. You want to make sure you can show people if you're actually showing a grip or, you know, proper stance, or where your club head should be, or, you know, how you have the ball positioned on a mat or whatever. If you have somebody living in the home, you know, with you, help them be the camera person. Doesn't have to be perfect, but you want to be mindful of your brand and how you're positioning yourself, because the internet is forever to a certain degree, and somebody will screenshot it or somebody will record it and send it out. So I hope that answers the question, because there's a ton of things I could go on and on about, but I think I hit all the points there that I wanted to get across.
Yeah, that was good. We have one more from our staff, but before we ask that, I want to give the pros on the call another chance to ask any questions so we don't jeopardize everyone's time.
Yeah, Marty, I got a quick question.
Sure.
Excuse me. There seems to be a lot of discounting going on right now, you know, offering like 25% off. Can you talk a little bit about some strategies that you've seen or that may work, as far as opposed to discounting, maybe doing something to add value? Videos out. I've been calling members, you know, just to try to engage and stay in touch with them. Obviously, it's going to be different at a public or private place, but the benefit of adding value as opposed to discounting, I guess, would be my question.
I am dead set against discounting in a good environment. That really hasn't changed. So I like the way you're phrasing it is add value. One thing that I was shocked about and I was surprised with, which was actually very nice. I had a gym membership, basically. They called me and I had personal training with them. And what they did was they said, if you let us charge your card this month, because I have a monthly membership, then I have the personal training. If you let us charge a card, what we'll do is we'll give you 3 free sessions on the back end. So for April, I got 3 $50 sessions for peanuts, right? So that was just adding value, and they just need the money to come in, right? So that I found that just to be nice. I thought that was really cool. Gym was shut down. You're trying to wonder like where you're spending money and where you're not as a customer. So some of the ideas that I've seen where I think one of the big ones to add value, and it depends on what type of facility you have, obviously, but I'm starting to see on a public side, book 3 or 4 weekend or 3 or 4 weekday tea times, giving a small discount, but what they're adding value in, there's no time constraints, right? So if you're a daily fee player, there's certain things where you can't book a tea time for whatever reason. They have those closed off. So I've seen some of those things. I've seen different memberships come out for private courses that they were already doing a membership drive, and I'm, sure they were looking to sign people on in March, coming into the new year. They're doing like condensed, like try us out type things where, hey, in the month of August, you can have a full membership and it's like a trial thing. They're adding the value by giving them not only a discount, but they're adding the value in by giving them just a 1 month type thing. So there's like so many variations, Dave, like there's so many things that could go on to, but adding the value is the key. You don't want to come across as discounting. So don't use the word discount. We're doing a discounted walking membership because you don't know what the cart rules are going to be and things like that. What you want to do is add value. Whatever that value might be for your facility is add something on. Gift cards are huge, but you just got to spell it out. So if you can add value via a gift card is because you're getting cash in and it's perceived value. So like that restaurant example I gave before, you can just apply that to your course, but you got to show them, say, keep it simple. It's $100 per round type of thing, right? And you have $1,000 gift card, right? And you're saying, well, we're going to give you, $400 more on the card that you can use wherever, however, maybe not that much, but you kind of get the idea. So give them that perceived value, but getting the money in is the biggest part of that whole thing in adding the value. You can add lessons on, you can add whatever it is. Just don't discount, like the discounting part just always makes it that you're giving away free. And then people are always going to expect that. And I know it's a different time, might sound a little callous, but once you discount, it's hard to go back. And, there's so many things you can do. I think via gift cards is a huge thing. Or, you get $100 free to spend here or whatever it might be, or a free round, but don't use the word free. You just say, hey, $100, that's what you get. So if you buy 1,010 rounds, your actual card is worth, $1,200, and you can use that for 2 free rounds, but you're not telling it's 2 free rounds. It's perceived add in value. And that's just a monetary thing. You can always include, apparel and other things like that. You just have to get creative with the added value. I hope that answers your question. Hit me up if you need anything else.
No, that's great. Thanks, Marty.
Does anyone else have any questions? Okay. Marty, do you have time for one more or no?
Yeah, I do. Okay.
What are some resources that would be easy to use for golf professionals around the country, or around the section? Things like, Photoshop has a little bit of a learning curve. Are there any, relatively inexpensive alternatives to that?
Yeah, I'll give you one. I can create a quick list too, and I'll send it out with that PDF when we finish that up. But one, like, mentioned Photoshop, like, actually if you search and you Google almost every tool that's out there that you need, they're giving away like 60 days free. So like, and they're giving away not just like a basic version, like Canva is one. They updated everybody that was on for CANVA. It's easy for graphics and things like that. They actually upgraded everybody to Pro. So I think like their entry level one is, don't hold me to this either because I don't know. It's like $20 a month, but like their Pro one is like $100 a month, and you get all these stock things, and you have so many other options. Photoshop, the funny that you mentioned that, I think they're doing something for free right now if you download the apps on your phone. So pretty much anything like tool wise, Matt, you know, if you do a little bit of searching, you'd be amazed at how much free stuff digital is. And it's a smart move by them because they know things are going to be moving that way. So they get you using your tools for 60 days. You'll probably be hooked, and you'll probably pay the premium once it comes up. But there are a host of tools, Matt, out there right now. You just have to do a little research that they'll give you the first couple of months free. I mean, I won't name the company, but I just got off the phone. I was about to sign a deal with them at the very beginning of April, and it's a $3,500 a month tool. So this is like a very advanced stuff. They actually waived all their fees for the next 2 months because they know like nobody else is going to invest in it, because it's a local tool. It's to, you know, do a bunch of other marketing stuff to track where mobile activity is. But it was very fascinating that they waived basically $7,000 worth of fees. So there's tons of those things out there. So you just have to search for them. But I'll put some in that list.
That'd be great. Thank you. Anyone else have any questions? Okay. Well, thank you, Marty, very much for your time. I think that was very informative, and I think that'll be useful for everyone here on the call. And everyone, thanks for joining and participating in another webinar. I hope it was useful.
Yeah, Matt, I appreciate it very much, and thanks everybody on there. I know it's kind of tough. Like normally, it's like very definitive. You're like, hey, we can do this or you can do that. And right now is a little challenging. So if you have any questions, I'm a resource. I always have been for the many years. Just reach out. I'd be more than happy to talk with you and then go from there.
Thank you very much, Marty. Everyone stay healthy and safe.
Thanks, Matt.